Hi, it's Dart here. I didn't expect to be bringing out another game quite so soon, but this came across my field of vision, and it seems to be directly in my wheelhouse. It's very similar to the parlor puzzles from Blueprints, but with some very definite differences. But it's near enough that I figured it was worth taking a look at this. This is, I mean, it says on the screen that it's a demo. It's before that, this is being advertised as a playtest. So by the time this comes out and comes up, it may entirely be possible that the game will have changed from what you see here, and almost certainly it will be different from the way that it is in the final version. I've reset all my progress. I don't know that it matters all that much, but I think for you guys it's going to be useful for you to see how the thing progresses, because it has elements of games like Mafia or Werewolf, where everyone has a role to play, social deduction game. You're trying to figure out who's who. You're not anyone, but you're trying to figure out who everyone is, or at least who the evil ones are. But the characters start getting introduced slowly, and with more of them, you get more and more difficult puzzles. So, we're going to start. And we have to do a standard game. So, there are 5 people, these 5 people, enlightened, lover, hunter, confessor, and minion. There are these 5 people gathered around this circle. One of them is evil, but is trying to hide from you by pretending to be someone else. And the goal is to find that person and identify them as being the evil one. Now, in game, you're executing that person. But fine. So, you notice that up here, I can take a look at who's in my deck, who's around the circle, or who could be around the circle. The enlightened, the lover, the hunter, the confessor, and the minion. Let's take a look at what they do, because each person gives a certain kind of information, and it's important to keep track of all that. So the enlightened will tell me whether the nearest evil character is clockwise from their position or counterclockwise from their position. And if it's like 2 this way and 2 that way, it'll tell me equidistant. The lover will tell you how many evil characters are adjacent to the lover. The hunter will tell me how far away the nearest evil character is. The confessor will simply say, I am good, or I am dizzy. The confessor just cannot lie. The minion will lie, will give false information about what's going on around the circle, and will disguise themselves as one of these other 4 things. So, already the first puzzle is relatively simple, because I have a confessor, an enlightened, and a hunter, but I have 2 lovers, and that cannot be true, because I only had 1 lover in my deck. And they're both pointing at each other, basically saying one evil is adjacent to me. So, So let's take a look at the people that we can relatively trust, because one of these 2 has to be the minion, hiding out as a lover. The hunter says, I am 2 cards away from the closest evil. Which, we have helpful arrows to say which cards are 2 away. And so he's saying it's either 4 or 5. That may not have been there the last time I played. I played this last night, but there was an update this afternoon. Okay. Then 3 is saying, the closest evil to me is clockwise from here. So again, that's saying either 4 or 5. So what that tells me is that number 5 is a minion disguised as a lover. So what you do is you take this knife, and it gets a little weird, it gets a little creepy. This is a lot. Boom. Village is safe, all the evil characters have been executed, we can move on. So what's going to happen is new characters come in. So the medium says, learn a good character and its role. The judge says, pick one character and learn if they're lying. So unlike some of the other cards that will volunteer information, we get to ask the judge a question. So let's see who we have. Could be any of these people. But here's the thing. There are only 6 people around the circle, but I have 7 people in my deck. So some people are not present. But there's nothing stopping me from just flipping all these cards over. So we might as well. Whoops. Hi. When hovered over, you'll see information like bluffs used by killed characters, info from previous days, or the order in which cards were revealed. Okay. Presumably the order in which I flipped over the cards is going to become relevant at some point. Fine. So there's one evil character, but here's the thing. The confessor is saying, I am dizzy. It is not looking good. So let's go around. Number 5 is good. Fine. The closest evil is counterclockwise. I am 3 cards away from the closest evil, which uniquely points to card number 1. There are no evils adjacent to me at 4 or at 6, and the judge I can ask. 1 is saying the truth. Now that's interesting because number 1 cannot lie. So one thing that I'm discovering in playing this is not necessarily when I click on a thing and make a thing happen, does it behave the way I expect it to, which is a little, you need to get used to this game, and I'm not used to it yet. But it pretty much needs to be number 1. Because if the confessor were not evil, the confessor would say she was good. Yep. On to village number 3. There are 7 coming. Now something interesting. The Wretch is a new kind of card. We've seen minions and we've seen villagers. The Wretch is an outsider. You can tell that by the color of the card. This is a yellow card. The Wretch appears to be evil when other characters go looking for evil. Then we have the Empress, who says, I'm going to name these 3 numbers. One of those 3 is evil, but I can't tell you which one. Who we got? Lover, Judge, Medium, Gem Crafter, Empress, Wretch, and Minion. And again, there is no good reason not to flip over these cards. Okay. Let's see. I don't see anything that's obviously a problem yet. The Empress says 1 is evil, either number 7, number 4, or number 3, which is interesting. So let's think about this. Could 4 be the evil character? I think the answer is no, but let me work through it. If 4 were evil, then her statement is true. 1 of 7 or 4 or 3 is in fact evil. But the evil characters will always lie. It's not like the game in the parlor where the thing you're looking for is not necessarily where the true statement and not necessarily where the false statement is. Here, you want to find the characters who lie. You want to identify the lies. So this has to be true. Aha, so I can mark that as being true. Which means 5, 6, 1, and 2 must be true. 7 is telling the truth, and 1 is telling us that 7 is not evil. But hang on a second. 3 is saying truthfully that 5 is good. This all hangs together. Yeah, it has to be 3. Got it. Yeah. Okay. Twin minion. Okay, so just a second minion. The jester. Kind of like the judge, except I get to decide which 3, and the jester tells me how many of the characters I selected are evil. Let's see who we have in village number 4. Medium, judge, empress, jester, wretch, twin minion, and minion. That's all 7. So we're probably going to have duplication. Let's see. Oh, we have lots of empresses. Okay. Well, this is pretty straightforward, actually. If we have 2 evil characters, the non-empresses must be fine. Maybe it's not the case that the evil character will always lie. But we can use, because all of them say it's 2. Oh, no. Oh, no, wait, no. Yeah, there can be a lie. If this person is lying, number 2 is lying, then 2 is saying that only 1 of 2, 7, and 3 are evil. If those 2 are evil, then that's a lie. But that means that number 3 is the truth. 2, 6, 1, because there are only 2 evil characters. So here's what I'm going to do. Pick a character, learn if they're lying. I'm going to ask about 3. Number 3 is lying. Can that be? Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm looking at this the wrong way. What if 2 is the only one who's being honest? Just because 3 and 5 are saying the same thing, there are 2 liars here. Of course they could be telling the same lie. It could be this setup, so that 2 is telling the truth, and 3 and 5 are lying. Then out of 2, 7, and 3, 1 is a lie. 1 is lying. True. 3 is lying. Five is also lying. I think that's it. 3, 5. Oh, haha. I need to do it again? 5. Gotcha. Anyway, next. 2 more characters. The Bombardier. Lose if you execute me. That feels like it shouldn't be hard. Why would I ever do that? Which means if you're real, the Bombardier is fake. Ah! Yep. And the Knight, I cannot die. So it feels like as they're unlocking characters, they're thematically related. 8 characters around the circle today. Judge, Jester, Medium, Confessor, Hunter, Enlightened, Bombardier, and the 2 minions. Again, nothing is stopping me from opening all these up. The Hunter says, I am 2 cards away from the closest evil. Number 4 says, I am dizzy. So our Confessor here, 1 of 2, cannot say that they are okay. So that's fine. You have to be good. Sure looks like you're telling the truth. I'm 2 cards away from the nearest evil. That's number 4. The closest evil is clockwise. Oh, that would not be true. Interesting. Number 2 is a real hunter. So is it 4, 5? Or those are 2? So let's use the judge to ask after number 2. 2 is saying the truth. So now I have confirmation from 2 people that 2 is telling the truth. I think that's enough to prove that 2 is legit. I'll use the jester to check 2, 4, 5. Yeah, 2 are evil there. I think we're good. 4, 5. Nice. New characters. The witch. Yeah, this is why I've been saying we can reveal everything. If the witch, who's an evil character, is among the cards, then I'm not able to turn over the last card. And the scout will say, this evil character, the witch, is so many away from the nearest evil to them, which isn't immediately useful, but can be useful later. 8 characters we have. Jester, Judge, Confessor, Lover, Medium, Wretch, Witch, Twin Minion. Okay. So now, start with 1. Wretch. 2. There are 2 evils adjacent to me. Ooh, interesting. That makes me think you're lying. 3. I am dizzy. Well, oop, wrong. There we go. 4. Confessor, I am good. Well, has to be. 5. 7 is a real jester. Well, in that case, I'm going to go to 7 directly. Let's have the jester look at 1, 2, 3. There are 2 evil among those. Is that enough to seal the deal here? 3 has to be. Either 1 is evil and 2 is telling the truth, or 2 is evil and 1 is telling nothing. I think that was a waste. Let's look at 6. The judge. Pick a character to learn if they're lying. Pick 1. Actually, pick 2, because you can't tell whether 1 is lying because they're not saying anything. 2 is saying truth. Let's do the Confessor. Twin Minion. So that's not the witch. It doesn't let me turn over the last card. I think it just is the wretch, who's the other evil. Ooh, it's not. Oh, I forgot the point of the wretch. Yeah, you see, I'm not used to these characters either. Okay, so here's what happened there. I executed a character who was good. So I lose health if I execute an innocent, if I get attacked by a demon, or through other different abilities. If my health drops to 0, then the current round is lost. I can imagine all kinds of things that might do this. So I think I have screwed myself here because I don't think I can know. And I can't get the information from card number 8. But I mean, 2 cannot be evil. Because if that is, then 6 is also evil, and that's not possible. So these 2 must be fine. The jester would have detected the wretch as being evil. So the jester is speaking truth. And therefore really is a jester. So whatever card 8 would have appeared as, doesn't 8 have to be the witch? Correct. And then a demon. 1 fake outcast is added to the deck view. Okay. So, Wretch and Bombardier, each of whom has their own issues. The Wretch screws up people's perception of what's evil and what's not. The Bombardier, if I decide, oh, that's a fake Bombardier, and I try executing them, but I'm wrong, like I was with the Wretch last time, then everything blows up and that's bad. Okay. Oh, and they were twin minion, yeah? Yeah, so no witch. So, flip them all. So let's start with the easy things. Okay. The knight cannot be killed, but gives no information. I still don't know. What that means. The twin minion is one card away from the closest evil. So does that just mean, yeah, 5 is a real confessor? Yes, true. I want to use a judge on 8. 8 is lying. Uh-oh, wait, what? Well, now I'm confused. What I'm going to do, I don't think anybody can make, we don't have corruption yet. That's the thing that's coming in the next ascension. Okay. 8 says twin minion is one card away from the closest evil. Oh, but it's the Wretch again. Okay, so if it's legitimately a Wretch, then the 8 might say that, because the Wretch appears evil. It has to be 6, doesn't it? Because this is what the scout should be saying, which means 4 is telling the truth. It has to be the judge. Yeah, there we go. 2 new characters, the Slayer and the Knitter. Weird. The Slayer, pick a character. If you pick an evil character, you execute it. Now, I don't know, like if I select a Wretch, does that same thing happen again? It looks evil, so the Slayer kills it? Dunno. The Knitter, learn how many evils are adjacent to each other. And Ascension, the Ascension level increases. So we're going to start over with a new set of 7 villages. And I don't know about this. Maybe when they do the real game, there will be more lore, there'll be more story, there'll be more cutscenes or something. Right now, it's just gameplay, gameplay, gameplay. Deck, Jester, Judge, Empress, Hunter, Wretch, Witch. Okay, so because the Witch is here, I have to be careful about what I open. 1. Hunter, I am 1 card away from the closest evil. Well, that feels like I should be opening 2 and 6. Oh. Okay. So he thinks that's a true statement anyway. How about 5? Out of 4, 5, or 6, 1 of them is evil. Okay. I think we determined with 1 evil character that clears the Empress. Doesn't it? Yeah, it does. If 1 or 2 or 3 is evil, then 5 has to tell the truth, and she's not. So that can't be, it can't be any of those. So actually, yeah. If 5 is evil, then she's identifying herself as evil. That doesn't work. So it has to be either 4 or 6. So I think the other one I open is 4. Jester. Okay. So the judge, tell me if the Empress is lying. That's not looking good. The Jester, pick 3 characters, find out how many are evil. I'm going to pick 1, 3, and 5. None. It's the judge. Correct. Poisoner and Bard. Now this is a new mechanic, is corruption. So the Poisoner is evil. 1 adjacent villager is corrupted, if that's possible. And of course, the poisoner disguises themselves as someone else and lies. The bard, learn how far I am away from the closest corrupted character. So now, just because someone is lying, that doesn't make them evil anymore. So we're going to have two liars standing next to each other if the poisoner is the one and only evil character. We have two evils. Bard, Jester, Medium, Knight, Scout, Wretch, Bombardier, Poisoner, and our demon Ba. But no Witch. But we have a Wretch. So we have a character that looks evil. But one of our scouts is bogus. If it's two, so the Wretch appears evil. There are no corrupted characters. Can that be possible? Is there anybody who's immune to corruption? I don't think there is. I don't think that can be true. If the poisoner is here, the poisoner will corrupt someone, because we can't have incorruptibles on either side. But 6 is saying that 7 is a real bard. I think my main problem is I don't entirely understand the mechanics here. In case the devs do see this, I would think that having some kind of a tutorial where you see how these mechanics behave would be useful, because that's the thing that I'm grappling with, is I don't know. Corrupted characters will lie and their ability will not work. Pick 3 characters, learn how many of them are evil. Learn a good character in their role, can't die. Register as an evil minion to other characters. Lose if you execute me. Poisoner. One adjacent villager is corrupted. Okay, so it has to be a villager adjacent. Oh. It has to be a villager, not an outcast. So it is possible. Because the Wretch is in play. So if the scout, both scouts, let's see, do we have enough that both scouts could be, we have 7, but we have like 9 cards here. So yeah, it's not necessarily the case that one of these scouts needs to be real. They could both be disguised. Okay, so if number 2 is actually Ba, and number 3 is the poisoner, then the poisoner is between a demon and an outcast and cannot corrupt anybody. And then 6 and 7 can be telling the truth. So I'm going to spend the Jester on 2, 3, 4. 3 evils, which is exactly what I said. So Ba, poisoner. New characters. Fortune teller and oracle. Pick 2 characters, learn if any of them are evil. And the fortune teller will deliver a message in the sense of, is it the case that either number 3 or number 4 is evil, true or false? And the oracle, learn that 1 out of 2 characters is a specific minion role, and that oracle will just volunteer that information. What do we got? Lover, Judge, Bard, Empress, Scout, Wretch, Bombardier, Poisoner, and Ba. No Witch. Turn them all over. 1 is evil, 2 or 7 or 5. 1 is evil, 7 or 4 or 5. Well, at least one of the Empresses is disguised. What do I do to start? Let's look at 6. The Poisoner is 3 cards away from the closest evil. If that's true, if it's true, then the poisoner would not be able to be 6, 7, 2, or 3. Because then the scout would be saying, well, they're near the wretch. That's the nearest evil character. So then the poisoner would either be 4 or 5. And the corrupted character would be 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know that that line of thought gets me anywhere. Oh no. Let's look at the Empress's statements. They cannot both be true, just because we cannot have two Empresses. If 4 is true and 3 is false, then either 2 is true and 4 is false, which doesn't work because we started with the premise that 4 is telling the truth. The other way out of that is that either 7 or 5 is in fact evil, and so is 4, which has the same problem. So can 4 be telling the truth? Let's go over that again. If 4 is telling the truth, we have flags. If 4 is telling the truth, then 3 must be lying because you can only have one Empress. And 1 is evil out of 2, 7, or 5. 2, 7, 5. But 3 must be lying. If 7 or 5 is evil, then the only way out of that is that 4 is evil, and that doesn't work. Does that hang together? Out of 7, 4, 5, 1 is evil. That is a lie. That settles the Empress's statements. But number 5 comes out as being a truth teller in all this. But 5 is saying that there's an evil character next to her. Oh, no, there's not. Because the evil characters are on 2 and 3, not next to 5. So I think this whole scenario is not possible. So let's clear these. I think that can't be it. The next possibility is that it's this way around. If 3 is telling the truth and 4 is evil, then 7 and 5 are cleared. Oh, I didn't clear this one, but it's fine. One is evil, 2, 7, or 5. That clears this person. There's an evil adjacent to me. 5 is cleared. That all works. Which leaves only 1 or 6 to be the other evil character. It can't be 6 because there is 1 evil character adjacent, which would leave the wretch being the other one. So it could be 1 and 4. The other possibility is that they're both lying. Neither one of them is the Empress. The Empress didn't show up today. They're both lying because they're naming... Ooh, this one is naming a character who is. This can't work. because this one is accidentally telling the truth. So I think it has to be 1-4. Four is lying. Yeah, let's do it. Oh no! I forgot about corruption. Dang. I didn't factor corruption into that. Grr. Okay. Yeah, these puzzles get hard in a hurry. Okay. Well, what we learned is that 7 is telling the truth. I am 2 cards away from the corrupted character. That turned out to be true. 1 is evil, 2 or 7 or 5. We know that 2 and 7 are telling the truth. Therefore, 5 is. But number 5 says an evil character is adjacent. So doesn't that make it the scout? Doesn't it have to be 3 and 6? They're 3 away from each other, but their nearest is 2 away. It's the wretch. Yeah, I think that's got to be it then. Empress and scout. Yes. Wow, that was hard. We'll look at these, but I'm going to call it here because we're about at 45 minutes. The Plague Doctor and the Alchemist. The Plague Doctor is an outcast. 1 good villager is corrupted. Pick a character. If you pick a corrupted character, then you'll learn someone who's evil. The Alchemist messes with corruption even further. Villagers to the left and the right of me, within a range 2, are cured from any corruption. Learn how many people I cured as a passive thing that he says. Oh, goodness. So I'm going to go to menu. So that was Demon Bluff. It's an interesting game. It still needs a little bit of work because I did have the experience where I became convinced that a puzzle was not solvable. But then it's very difficult to do that because you are making decisions. You're choosing the judge, or other characters are like, tell me about these people, the jester. The witch is withholding information, so if you leave the wrong card to last, it may break the puzzle. So the situation may be overall solvable, but you might end up getting in a situation where the decisions you've made leave you with an impossible or unsolvable. Not impossible. There's always a solution. The solution is the solution regardless of what you do. But it may leave you with a puzzle that you cannot actually come to a unique solution. But then that's on you because it's the decisions you made. That's where the gameplay comes in. But that is going to be my preview of Demon Bluff. And I will see you again soon. Goodbye.